Hello and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show. I'm sure glad you guys are here today. Man, this is going to be fun. We have some wonderful, amazing panelists on today. My name is Jim Landers, and my job, my mission is to uplift portrait photographers so that they can make a fantastic income doing what they love. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, Amanda and her fantastic, amazing, wonderful team, man, they create beautiful prints of your work. And these people who work there are not just people who are collecting a paycheck. They actually love what they do. This is their career. And because of that, just by default, they make you look like a hero. I highly recommend you reach out to digitalprolab.com because Amanda and her team, oh, you're going to love them. And of course, for Landers Photography School, my company, Jim at landersphotoschool.com, or just go to landersphotoschool.com. You can find out more about the kind of classes that I have. I've got classes on both the photography side and on the business side. I do lean heavily on the business side because I really want to see photographers succeed. And I know how to make it happen. So reach out to me and let's see what difference Landers Photography School can make in your life. Now, I want to encourage you to make comments and ask questions throughout today's discussion. For right now, I want you to go to the comment section and enter in something really simple, hashtag live. That tells me you're watching the show right now live, and we're simulcast in 8 different places. We're simulcast on a couple of Facebook groups, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So if you're on any of those, enter in hashtag live. Now, if you're watching the replay, enter in hashtag replay. I also request that you share the Portrait Profit Show. Let other people know that this exists. Just click that share button. It's real easy to do. As you know, Amanda from Digital Pro Lab and I deliver the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. We don't read off ads from Indeed. There's no video commercial from Netflix. All of the time and expenses are funded from our own pockets. All we ask in exchange for that is for you to share the Portrait Profit Show with others. So click that share button, invite others to the show, and help us build a brighter future by uplifting all photographers. I want to welcome you to our discussion panel today on how to close out the year. I'll put that up on the screen, but I'm going to do it a slightly different way. There we go. How I close out the year. You know, there's rarely just one right way to do things in photography. There's usually a lot of right ways, or at least a lot of good ways. Probably just one that's right for you, though. But that's exactly why I like or even love panel discussions. Today, you're going to hear 3 different perspectives on managing the year-end process, from client appreciation, planning for the future, financial reviews, maintaining momentum throughout the rest of the season. You know, there's a lot of stuff involved as we come to the end of the year. And I've picked today's panelists because each one of them brings something unique to the table that they've developed for their own success, their steps, their systems for wrapping up the year. So get ready to take notes because we're about to discuss things that will help you close out your year with confidence and bring in the next with so much hope that you're just going to love it. As always, for our monthly panel discussions, we have a wonderful group of panelists who have valuable insights to share. Each has a different perspective. And above all, they're here because they believe in uplifting the portrait photographer community. So get ready to be inspired and help me welcome the panelists by by going to the comments and typing in a thank you message, letting them know that you appreciate their generous gift of time to you. So I want to bring them on so we can see them and say hi to them. So let's bring on Valerie and it's not coming on. Why is it not coming on? Oh, because I chose the wrong thing. Valerie and Jacqueline and Scott. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing really good.
I'm so glad you're here. Can you, something I haven't asked the panelists before. This is the 42nd or 43rd panel we've done so far. Can you hear my intro? Do you hear anything prior to the? Okay, good. I'm wondering if when the panelists come on, if they're like, oh, wait, oh, here I am, or if they actually thought.
No, we could see the whole thing.
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah, I was jamming out to that intro music. It was great.
Well, I'm so grateful that you are here today. I know
Likewise.
this is a busy time of year, and you are busy people. But what I have found is the busy people find a way to make things happen. And so therefore, they're the ones I can rely on to be panelists and to give good advice that other people can use so that they can become actually busy, not busy in their minds, not busy with things that just take up time, but actually things that cause things to happen. And I know you guys fit that description very well. So thank you so much for being willing to give your time to the photographer community.
My pleasure.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to give each one of you a moment to introduce yourselves one at a time. So I'm going to take you guys off and then we'll get things started. So I'm going to start, let's see. I'm going to start with Valerie. So I'm going to take Jacqueline and Scott off. And Valerie, you're here with me right now. How are you doing today?
Yay! I'm doing wonderful. Staying warm.
Good. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're giving your time and your thoughts, your insights. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are? You're welcome to talk about your family or where you grew up. You're welcome to talk about anything, but then touch a little bit on what kind of photography business that you're in as well.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been a photographer for probably about 15 years now, and it actually started with a different business. I also run a boutique. So the photography business started off with me making bows and little girly things that you couldn't buy on Amazon before. This was over 15 years ago. And my husband noticed that my clients were starting to ask me to take photos of them. So my clients that were purchasing a lot of items for the boutique, I would ask them to come in, or we'd meet at a park so I could take pictures of my products, which their kids are in. And then it came to them asking like, hey, I like your photos. Can you take family pictures of us? And it just started that way. So one day, I always brag on my husband because he's my number one supporter. One day I came home probably from being with the client or running around with the kids, and there was a brand new Sony camera, a DSLR on the kitchen table with business cards. So cheesy. They were probably from Vistaprint, but he said, I really if you would see what everybody's seeing and your talent, I feel like you should run with it. Just try it out. Put some ads out there. That's back when Craigslist was a thing. So embarrassing. I'm dating myself. So I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. So I would work for tips. I started doing kids photography, family photography, stuff like that. Anyway, here we are 15 years later. I don't work for tips like that anymore. And I don't advertise really. Everything is word of mouth. And by the grace of God, I'm still surviving and just growing. And I love it. I can't say that I don't. So that's what I do. I focus a lot on children's photography. I would say that I specialize in children's photography and special needs photography, as far as like the patience, the hands-on, the understanding, just the full-on experience that you're going to get with me. A lot of my clientele are on the spectrum, and when they come here, I already know by the experience throughout the years that they're already stressed out. They just want to have something captured for their family that's outside the normal realm, because a lot of times special needs kids, like, I'm a mom of 4. So it's always chaotic with just one kid or the other kids. And then so when one of our kids, like one of my kiddos, she needs a lot more attention than the other kids. So it's already a stressful thing, but you still want to like be able to take the Thanksgiving photos and the Christmas photos and, the birthday photos. But these kids have little, what would you say, like noise issues, or they're sensitive to certain things. So I'm their safe place. I take pride in that. But I also do just family, debuts, everything. Anything you can think of, I'm taking a picture of it. So milestones, generational photos. I love what I do, but I do have to credit God for what I do, for his grace throughout the years, and especially my husband. My husband for sure. He's carried me through the years and building props and everything. I see Anna saying, I love that, having someone to support you and push you because they believe in you. Absolutely. And I know that we had a conversation the other day, Anna, where she's commenting on the live, and we're in the same boat where it's a family oriented business. So that's pretty much all about me. I'm a workaholic. I am a dedicated businesswoman. My name is on my business, so I take complete pride in what I do, but it's not just work, it's my heart. It's passion that is put into this, and I like slap myself all the time like, is this real? Like, I'm just very blessed, and I just thank God for that. But enough about me. That's how it started.
Awesome. That's great. And I agree with Anna. Having someone who is supportive of you, who you love, who's going to be right there with you pretty much all the time, that is a huge thing. To have the opposite has the potential to totally cause failure.
Absolutely.
And so you do have sounds like you've got a good situation. So I love that.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to bring Jacqueline up, and I'll come back to you here in just a little bit. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Jacqueline, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
Good. It's been a while. When we were in our little green room before we got started, we touched on this, but it's been a while since you and I have actually been able to talk. Jacqueline and I worked on a project together. When was that? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 2 years ago now.
And it was an annual project, and we did it for 2 years. But I want to continue to do it. So maybe after the show, you and I can talk about that.
Let's do it. I love it.
Jacqueline, I'm so glad that you're here. I know you're busy, so you're taking time out of your busy schedule to uplift other photographers, and that is something I very much appreciate. Can you share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, maybe some philosophies, all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we've ever talked shop before, so this is exciting.
No. Yeah.
So I've been a professional photographer now probably about 4.5 years now. It was a COVID hobby. I mean, I picked up a camera when I was like 10. And, it was just kind of like that one thing. I was like, okay, it was fun. But then COVID happened, and I was just like, I'm bored out of my mind. So let's see what I can do, because I could still interact with people, but from a distance. And so I ran my own LLC for a couple of years until me and my best friends, we decided to go ahead and become a nonprofit. And now we tell nonprofit stories. So I'm the photographer, and my friend Matt Egan does the video, and Laurel does all of our operations. And it's just been a crazy busy time for us. We had an event just in November that I'm still tired from that event. But I could say I essentially now do mostly corporate events and headshots. But because of the nature of the work, I still get to go and do other stuff too. And that's just because it's like, oh, well, you can do this for me, right? And I'm like, absolutely. Let's talk shop. Let's talk what I can offer. And here we are. We're year number 2 now with the nonprofit, and we've just been having a great time.
And that is a really cool nonprofit, and the folks that you're working with are good people. I don't know if they're watching right now, but Laurel and Matt, if you're watching, hi guys.
Yes, we really it was a unique situation opening the nonprofit, being that Matt's a videographer, I'm a photographer, and it's something that wasn't being done. We had one nonprofit that lost out on getting a grant because they couldn't pay $8,000 for a chance at applying for a grant. but it's
Oh,
not that we're undercharging ourselves, but we have the unique ability to do everything. So we can cut out some of the extra costs that involve, we edit our own things, we do everything, we have our own gear. So it's been really beneficial for us just to combine and be this voice for the voiceless. And it's just been so great. Like, we've worked with Meals on Wheels here in San Antonio,
that's
multiple
cool.
locations, and we're working with this newer nonprofit on a regular basis, Practice Without Pressure, who's helping doctors learn how to work with special needs kids without restraints. And it was
Hmm.
just one of the things. They've been such a great client to us, so we kind of gave them some headshots for free. It was real fun because they're such sweet people, and I just love it.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing all that with us.
Of
I
course.
appreciate it, Jacqueline. Well, I'm going to come back to you here in just a little bit, but I'm going to bring Scott in to let him tell us about who he is and what he does.
Sounds good.
I'll see you in a moment. Scott, how's it going?
Jim, how you doing? Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I
Well, thank you
I,
for
I know
having
you
me.
have gotten busier and busier. You're growing better than most photographers that I see. So I'm very impressed with what you're
Okay.
doing. It's and I take a little bit of pride because I had a little tiny bit to do with it since you've taken some of my classes, and,
Sure.
and
You
so
bet you
thank you
did.
for
Absolutely.
thank you for helping me feel pride in the work that I do.
Sure. Well, thank you. Well, a little bit about me. My name's Scott
Yeah.
Southwell, and I'm from San Antonio. I grew up here, a native Texan, and I started with, to date myself, I started with a black and white darkroom when I was a kid. Uh, I can remember I can still smell the chemicals and the developers and the fixers and stop bath. And a lot of people don't know anything about that. I think it's such a thrill to be able to, we've gone from having to buy film, put it in the back of the camera, take a picture, wait a week for it to come back, to being able to see on the back of the camera the picture you just took, to now with mirrorless cameras, you can see what the picture is going to look like before you take it. Talk about a big technological leap. I can remember back in the day when I was a kid, with our family's manufacturing business, we would take our signs over to the different photographers, Jimmy Zinkgraf and Bud Shannon, and some of these guys aren't even alive anymore. And I would watch what they did. And of course, it was all film, but they had Polaroid backs. And they would take a picture and they'd pull it out and they'd wait and then they'd peel it off and they'd look at it. And I thought, wow, what a concept. That would be so cool if you could have a way to see what the picture looks like instead of waiting a week. So, anyway, dating myself. My specialty is real estate, architecture, photography. I also do headshots and portraits and events. Don't really get into doing weddings and quinceañeras and things like that. If somebody wants me to do it and it's a friend and I'm helping them out, sure, I'll do it. But I'm not a wedding photographer. I like taking pictures of houses and buildings because they don't move and they don't cry. And so that part I really like about it. Uh, that's what I do, and I've been a photographer my whole life. I've just now been in a position where I can do it professionally, and I'm having the time of my life. I really enjoy it. I got my drone pilot's license, fly the drones around, and it's a flying camera. Take virtual 3D Matterport virtual tour type pictures, and I really enjoy it. Being a former realtor, I know what they want. I know what a realtor needs. I understand it. I speak their language, and so it's a natural fit for me. But I'll do the occasional headshots. I'll do portraits, and I enjoy doing all that too. So that's a little bit about me, and I guess we'll see if anybody has any questions.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
You, I've heard your story when we've had opportunities to talk, and I find it very interesting. And there's the things that you were doing. Or I'm not going to bring them up because that brings up a whole another thing. But I found them interesting. But as far as the overall, there's a lot of photographers who do something similar to what you've done, and that's have some type of a full-time career, and then eventually at some point switch to what they've loved all along.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so it's a story that we've heard before in its general sense. In its specific sense, you're unique. But well, I've got the first question for you. You
Okay.
ready for it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring that up on the screen so everybody can see it. Let's see. It's where is that first question? There it is.
Okay.
What's the first thing that you do when you start closing out the year? What's your priorities? What are your first steps?
Well, I've thought about this a lot longer than just, okay, oh, it's December, the year's almost over. I start thinking about this kind of stuff back in July. For example, over the weekend, I did for my local HOA a free photo session, photos with Santa. I had the HOA hire the actor, the Santa and Mrs. Claus, but I did all the photos for free. But we booked them and we picked the date because I'm on the HOA board. We did that back in July. I know that real estate and just a lot of businesses in general, if you're not in retail and you're not a photographer that does parties and things like that, which I'm not, it gets slow. So I look at doing thinking about, okay, I'm going to do what are called pop buys. That's from the realtor world, where you take a little gift, buy some of your best customers and put your card on it. And it's just a little thank you just to keep top of mind. But I start thinking about those kind of things in the summer. So, that's my strategy. And I've just done it for years from other businesses, but that's what I do this time of year.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Things do happen fast, and if you don't have this well thought out, well planned out, before you know it, it's really almost too late to do certain things.
Yeah, it,
And
it is. I mean, if you start thinking about what am I going to do when I get slow in November, I mean, people have already planned their Christmas parties and different things. I mean, tomorrow I'm doing some headshots at a reduced price for a real estate brokerage, and they're having some of their best clients come in, and they're cooking and doing different things like a chili cook-off or something. And I'm one of the, I guess, things they're giving away because they're paying me to do some headshot photography for some of their clients, but it's a way to show appreciation. But you got to book that kind of stuff months in advance.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you start thinking about, oh, let's see, what can I do when I'm slow? It's always slow this time of year. You're too late. You have to think about
yeah,
that. Kind of, even though you're busy in the summer, you better start thinking about it.
yeah. That's the case. Now, as far as you being doing photography full time, this is you've been a photographer for a long time, but as far as making it, the thing that you're spending most of your time with, that's relatively new.
Yeah, no, that's
And
new. I've been
so,
doing
have you
that.
come across some things? For instance, uh, uh, maybe you're archiving of things. Maybe you have either a fiscal year or an annual year where you start closing things out. Is it too soon for you to have thought about that part of it, or are you thinking about those kinds of things as well?
Yeah, the business part of it, I have an LLC and um, the business is run through it. You got to do the year-end stuff, such as you got to do the board members, my wife and I have to fill out what we're gonna what we did for the year and sign it just in case something would ever happen. That's one of
Yeah.
the first things a lawyer looks at is let me see your records, your books, that kind of thing. So you got to do that. I look back at my invoicing software, QuickBooks, and I'll look at some of that stuff. But it's all that tedious stuff that's not fun. But now's a good time to do it because when you're busy and it needs to get done, and the bookkeeper's asking for it, you don't have time to do 9 months worth of bookkeeping and answer all these questions in June when you're busy. So you better do it now and get ahead of it.
Isn't that funny? And I want you guys, viewers, to notice for most portrait photographers right now, it's crazy busy.
Yeah, portrait
He does.
photographers, that sort
Scott's
of thing.
doing
Yeah,
some portrait photography, but it's not his main thing. And so notice that he's talking about this time of year being slow,
it's
which for the
slow.
rest of you, it's so busy you're
Yeah.
pulling your hair out. And
Oh
so
yeah.
you may think, what's Scott talking about?
Yeah, no, because real estate is slow. There's not a lot of listings. Not much happens. It's just a slow time of year for architects and realtors and brokerages. They're not even generating many sales. The houses aren't closing this time of year. Even in a busy market, a real estate market, it's just not a lot happens. It gets busy. Think about it. People put their house up for sale in the summer because they want to move during
That
summer
makes it
so the
easier.
kids can
Yeah.
go to the new school. Well, they start thinking
Yes.
about it in April. And that's when they put the house up for sale. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
So
I
that's when they
appreciate
need
that.
me. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to bring on Jacqueline, and I'll bring you back on here in just a little
Okay.
bit.
You bet.
All right, Jacqueline.
Hey.
So, what are your thoughts here on what is the first thing that you think of, the first thing that you do? Where are your priorities when you start to close out your year?
Well, in the nonprofit space, it is a little bit different, right? I've been thinking about end of year since the summer at this point, knowing what we have in booked as far as events, right? As you said, portrait photography is very busy. If I'd open my books a little bit longer, I'd be crying how busy I would be. But I personally take December off is to do fun projects and do whatever I want to do because of the time that makes. Now we have taxes, right? We have to do our finances, we have to do our books, and I actually work. Don't do photography full time. I still have a day job, and I actually do photography at the day job. So it's been fun, and I'm already booked with the day job doing events for them, and then my own side projects this month, and then coming in talking about our books is where I'm at now. But yes, like Scott said, you kind of have to think about this early because Christmas parties, all that has been their plan a long time. I know I have an event coming up on Wednesday, and but I've known about it for a month and a half at least because it is part of the day job. And they know because I do run a nonprofit that I could just take the day off anytime and go, and they have to work around my schedule just like any other customer would, even though I'm there from 8 to 4:30 every day. So yeah, I think about this, and then I'm already kind of thinking like, what did I do this year? How do I make this better going into 2025? We have to kind of see like, okay, how do we do this again? Like, how do we do this again? How do we make this? Because we are a nonprofit, but we do help regular corporate clients as well. So it's something of just a full circle. So we have to go ahead and figure out, okay, what's our next project going to be? I mean, I already looking at my calendar for February and it's already full, and we're in early December. So it's good.
Nice. Yeah. Once you've been doing this for a little while, you start seeing things that repeat. And when
Yes.
you start recognizing those things, now you start off by thinking that they probably could repeat, and then you notice that some things do repeat. When you start
Mhm.
noticing things like that, you're probably taking some steps to help make that easier for you. Is there any specific examples of things that you've noticed that are in that category?
I mean, the things that repeat, right? You have your regular events that are going to happen on a yearly basis. So you can,
Right.
okay, I'm going to block out my calendar for this, time to edit, covery,
Yes.
whatever it is you do. Because I like to keep it fun. So that's why I don't do this full time. Could I go ahead and run full time? Absolutely. But I still want to enjoy this as a hobby as well. So I do kind of, for me personally, I schedule that out. Like I'm like, all right, well, I'm not gonna even look at my camera. this background I have. This is just me go walking at Los Maples the other day just because I was like, I want to go take pictures of leaves. I'm not a landscape photographer, but I did it because I wanted to do it. And yeah, that's kind of what it is. You plan for the same old, but then it's like, all right, I know I was tired after that event. Let me schedule my little break in between, which works for a lot of us part-timers.
Well, you're a creative and you have to have those recharge moments. And going over to Los Maples is a perfect example of a recharge moment. And you planned that, you made it happen, and I'm sure that felt good to do that, and it looks good as a background.
Right, it's great. This is my new fall background forever and ever now.
I love it. Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, I'm going to ask Valerie that same question, and I'll see you here in just a moment.
Of course.
All right, Valerie.
Hey,
Let's bring
so
that question back up.
that was really interesting to see two different fields of photography,
right?
since it's so diverse, right? So I'm gonna agree with Scott on like his thing as far as summer. I'm a full-on businesswoman, so I am already like, while I am swamped in holiday, I'm already on my spring schedule and graduation already booking. I personally prefer, the question is, what do we do at the closing of the end of the year? I'm 6 months ahead of schedule, just like Scott. I'm going to 100% agree with them. Me personally, the first thing now in this year, 2024, after being in this career for 15 years, I have always put work first because I'm just so just full mode all the time with work. Again, I love it. But the problem was that at the end of the year, I'm already booked for the next year, that I didn't get downtime. So what I started to do personally was, this year, or since 2023 for 2024, at the end of the year, I started deciding my vacation time. What time am I going to take off to recover? As the other lady said, I'm sorry, I missed your name. I don't know why I didn't write your name down. For recovery, for vacation time, to unwind, to actually stop and breathe because I'm so busy. But another thing I do too is, because I don't stop, is I'm already planning the next year's goal. So in the summer and before October, I start planning like what I'm going to run for the year. However, I do in December, when I shut down, I start thinking of the financial goal, not just of what theme, what style, what minis we're going to run, what's going to happen that way. That I do ahead of time. But now it's like the goals. I look at the feedback that I have from my clients, like what do they want added to their sessions. When they stop by, I communicate with them. So at the end of the year, I'm like gauging everything. How did this year go? How successful was I? Not only financially, but with new clientele. Did I do any advertising this year? This year, I really didn't. But everything was by word of mouth, or the way they found me on social media, or my friend sent me over here, or I posted on this group and you just happened to comment on it one day. And so I kind of strategized what worked for me this year, what's not going to work for our next year, and so forth. But number one that I decided at the end of 2023, I had a health scare with my son where I almost lost my life and I almost lost my baby. And then I just realized, like, you know what? I work too much. I love what I do, but I work too much. And when am I going to enjoy this precious time? So for sure, my number one thing on the list for that question was next year's vacations, which I just booked all of them. But secondly would be, what are the goals? So I'm tapping in. That is my final answer.
I love it, man. I haven't experienced what you were just talking about, but I absolutely can imagine how that fundamentally changes how you view things, how you make decisions, how you move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I can't imagine that on anything more than just an intellectual level, I'm glad that it wound up with a positive effect on you.
Yes, I
that's
still
the
love
main
my
thing.
career. I really do. And I still put my career above a lot. I just realized, like the other lady said, I'm so sorry. I need to write down your name.
Jacqueline. Her
Jacqueline.
name's
Okay.
Jacqueline.
When you were saying about, you made a comment that you wanted to still keep this as a hobby, or because you still wanted to love it. And that's like the beginning phases of, like, before you tap into the financial realm, especially since you're nonprofit. But I'm gonna agree with you on that. You still have to have, you got to just balance it out so that you still have that as a passion and you love it. But I don't want to ruin another question for later.
That's good. So thank you very much, Valerie, and I appreciate those responses. And I'll be seeing you here back in just a few minutes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you know what? While I have you here, why don't I just ask the next question to you?
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, why not? So here's the next question. How do you review your financial performance? What specific metrics or numbers are you looking at?
Oh, let's tap into this because I am OCD about this. Okay. So with the financial part, I am a monthly planner. I am a complete monthly planner. I don't save my receipts. I'm not one of those that's like, tit for tat on each thing that I'm going to deduct for the taxes at the end of the year. However, I full on think of everything. And then I would totally say to join like different Facebook groups regarding your field. Like, what's his name? Scott is like in realtor, like, I don't know how to say it, in the realty photography. So mine is a wide spectrum of like family and holidays and stuff like that. I do everything, right? So my tip would be to like be nosy on these groups. You don't always have to comment, but get the feedback on it. One thing that I started doing years ago was every month, I'm old school. I'm not a digital person. I'm going to show you this thing right here. My compositions, I'll just sneak in there. Every month I set a goal for the month of, January. I'll set a goal. This is the minimum I want to make. This is what I'm going to end up spending. This is like what I'm going to allow myself to spend. Clients, because I do cake smashes, those vary on the packages. Some need extra props. Some need extra characteristic stuff added to customize their sets, if you know what cake smashes are. So I have to take all of it into perspective. Some are indoor, outdoor, the gas to go over there, the fees to enter locations and all that stuff. So each month I set a goal, I write it down, and I log it. I log everything as far as I'm tedious on that, like what is coming in and exactly how much what allowance does each client have for me to spend to get extra out of the ordinary, not just show up, take the pictures and leave, but some of my clients do pay extra. And that's already fit into their package of what I'm going to allow for me to bring or set up with that. So I'm very picky on that, and I stay on track because, I mean, that book that I have, that little book, it might be to anybody else, they're like, that might be a little bit ghetto, but or unprofessional, but I love it. It's just compact. It's right in front of me. It's on my bookings. I write down real quick what's coming, what's going on each payment platform. I use 4 different payment platforms, and then I have a total for the month of where I log everything. But every couple of days or every Friday, I do all the totals of what's coming and what's going, and it keeps me in track for the full year. I highly recommend it. And I was hearing Scott say like something about the end of the year, and then also Jacqueline, where y'all were saying that, you got to start worrying about that stuff. If you keep on track with it monthly or weekly, even through my busiest seasons like right now, it just sets you up for success because you know exactly what you're making. And then if you set that goal for January and you look at it and like, I didn't quite make it, let's see what February is going to be like. It sets you up for like a realistic goal of what you really want to achieve. And then when I exceed the goal, I'm like, dang, like we're really doing this. So it's also, it hypes you up too. But again, I'm just on a different field because I'm full-time. Actually, I'm a full-time photographer with part-time hours. My pay is full-time. So I'm just thankful for that. I like, it's just an old school thing that I do. Ding, ding, ding.
I like that. I love that. Hey, someone has asked a question. Can I bring that up real quick?
Yeah.
Julie said that I admire you so much as a mom and business mom, but how do you juggle with the setups during different sessions? You mentioned several different types of sessions that you do. How are you juggling this stuff?
Lord knows. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I had to find, thank you, Julie, for that. You're going to make me cry. I'm trying not to get emotional here. But honestly, it's what I did learn through the busy season, especially like I've told you, Jim, when you post those questions of what did you achieve? What are you so proud of? I'm proud that I survived today with a toddler teething. I am working with my son on my lap or right in front of me, or I have to like work for a little bit while he's like eating his snacks and I got to go over there. So it is difficult, but we're a family business. So all week, Monday through Friday, I stopped taking in clients because I'll allow one client on a Thursday or Friday, but Saturday and Sunday it is jam packed, and that's where my time is gauged with my family, my kids. I'm a full-time mom while I'm editing and answering emails and answering phone calls and doing all the crazy parenting stuff. My husband works a crazy work schedule too. And then when he logs off of work, he's a full-time dad, and we just we tag team this. But I allow my editing time through the week, my weekends with clients, hands-on, personal. And then through each setup, I give myself like an hour to set up. And then if I need to run to a different room for set number 2, we have an Alexa chat through the house. And I say, hey, Alexa, and I'll tell my daughter, come down, take down that set and set up the next one. And she's on payroll. So she's not going to argue with that. She's 15. So she's like, heck yeah, I get it. On Monday, I get my paycheck of what I did this weekend. When we go on the road too, like if there's anything outdoors, I tell her like, all right, we're going to load up. We're going to be prepared the night before. We set up, we get everything ready. And then midday, all right, we got 30 minutes and I have an 8-year-old, a 15-year-old, and then they'll start moving the stuff out. I start setting up the new one. And then we act like there wasn't just a tornado in the house because I do have a home studio. So that's how it's happening.
So Julie asked a great question then, because you do have a lot of stuff going on, but it sounds like you've found solutions to the different problems, and you've employed the assistance of those who are around you. You're including them, which gives them some ownership in what you're doing, and that further helps them uplift what you're doing. So you're doing a good job. I appreciate that. I'm impressed with that.
And real quick, I want to add, I highly, because there's somebody in the comments that's watching too. It's Anna, and we both run our business with our family. So I've tried hiring other people. The people that are going to be reliable, that are going to show up and that are going to show out, are going to be your family, whether it's your children or if you have a sibling or anybody to help. And what better way to share the profit is with your family than to just give it to anybody randomly, but they get a piece of the pie too.
Thank you, Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to ask that same question now of Scott, so I'll see you in a moment. So, Scott, what are your thoughts here on reviewing your financial performance and what metrics or numbers that you're looking at?
Well, for me, since I haven't been doing it long enough, like you said earlier, you start to see patterns and things. And our old business, we would have patterns and seasons and things. Right now, what I'm doing, I guess to answer your question, is I'm looking back at QuickBooks, and I can see which house, how the size of house I'm doing more of. I've got 2,000 square foot houses, prices for that, all the way up through 7,000 square foot houses. And I'm doing a lot of the smaller houses. So that tells me what I need to do is be going after the higher profile realtors that sell houses with 2 commas in the price, multi-million-dollar houses, because those guys need a lot more photography. They need drone photography, they need video, they need drones. That is something that I can see by looking at QuickBooks and seeing where the majority of my sales are falling in the small house, where it's a realtor selling a house that doesn't cost much, so they don't need a lot of photography. So looking at QuickBooks, and seeing where my sales fall, that's telling me, okay, I need to give more marketing effort on the higher commission realtors, the ones that are selling the bigger houses. So that's how I'm judging it now. A year from now, it'll be something different, but that's what I'm looking at right now and trying to see who are some of my better clients, what size houses am I getting, that sort of thing. And I can see it from the sales ledger in QuickBooks.
Yeah, and that is a good way to a lot of ways to look at this, but it's good for us as portrait photographers to see this from a different perspective, because you're looking at it. The specifics are different, of course, but the way that we need to look at what it is that we do is the same. Or we need to
Yeah.
compare and contrast and make sure that we are getting the target market that we really most want to work with, that is that's helping us reach our goals better. And when we look at those kinds of numbers and whatever metrics that we've assigned to them, we are more likely to wind up with those. I think of clients as a tool to help us get what we want. And there's a lot of tools out there, just like there's a lot of tools in a hardware store. But there's only a certain number of tools and some specific tools that are best for what we're trying to build or fix. And so while there's a lot of good looking tools in there and maybe on a sale price, if they're not the right tool for us, then we really need to not put so much effort into working with them. We need to work
Yeah,
with the things that help us bring in what it is we're trying to accomplish.
right. Yeah, and I've had some commercial accounts. I did one for a lumber company out of Washington State. They supplied lumber to several apartment complexes and new developments, and they wanted drones, and they wanted video, and they wanted exterior shots. But it was a little bit different in that they would say, "Zoom, I want you to concentrate on the corner of that garage, because that framing, those boards that framed it, went all the way around, and that's what we supplied. And look how many houses are in this neighborhood, and we supplied, I don't remember how many thousands of board feet, how many 18 wheelers full of lumber, and that's what they were wanting to show. So, but they paid quite a bit more than your typical realtor, and so I can look at that in QuickBooks and see, okay, those guys, they're a commercial account, and that was something a little better for me. But I guess to answer your question is reviewing QuickBooks, and they have all the charts and graphs you could ever want, and it'll show you where you're getting the most of your money from.
Very good. Thanks, Scott.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I'm going to ask that same question now of Jacqueline, and I'll see you back here in just a moment.
Okay.
All right, Jacqueline,
Hey.
you're up. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on this one about the financial side of things, the metrics, the numbers?
Oh, you're asking the numbers person here. Absolutely. So our financial performance, so essentially our nonprofit this is our first full year, and we fortunately have done 6 figures in revenue. And what are we doing? We're looking at QuickBooks every time. Like, we're looking at QuickBooks all the time. Thankfully, right? But I did want to mention some of the stuff that Valerie and Scott both said. Great points. But for us as a nonprofit, we have to also look at non-financial metrics as well. And that is that customer satisfaction, because we're a service-based nonprofit. Are we making meeting the right people realistically, right? What is being said about us? because essentially if we want to hit our mission, we have to know the people who are doing the stories, right? Like uh, Meals on Wheels referred us to another Meals on Wheels, and that's something that, wow, thank you. But it's because we develop those relationships as well, and we're looking at those non-financial metrics that are really important as part of the nonprofit, because we want to be able to help as many people as we can. But of course, there is a cost to everything, but that sometimes, hey, how are you doing? Or what can we help you with in some planning, even if it's not right now, we can plan for the future because we're talking about those non-financial metrics. So not to go over the same thing with QuickBooks, but yeah, that's another thing that we like to add on.
Well, those are good tips. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And this is a nonprofit is a good way to do certain things. I think some people try to take on nonprofit tasks or goals as a for-profit business. Have you seen the photographers who are saying, "Well, some people just can't afford it, and so I really want to do things to help them out to be able to afford it." That would be something that would be more in that direction of setting up a 501(c)(3) than trying to do it as part of your business. Now, I do think that everyone should help out a little bit where they can, but if you're going to be in business, you have to be in business. You can't
Exactly.
also be a nonprofit. And so my thought is choose. Both are good options, but make a solid choice on what you're going to do, and to make solid choices on those entities that you want to help out. And it doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you should. But if it makes up the majority of your work, you got to go out of business if
Right.
you're a
No, and
for profit.
actually adding on to that, right? A lot of people say not for profit doesn't mean like, oh, you're not charging. No, we're charging.
Oh, right.
But we're having to have those conversations a little bit differently, right? But we're not going to be that big marketing company over there charging $20,000 because they're an ad agency. And you know what? There's a customer for everyone, right? But we're helping those small nonprofits that have a smaller budget, and we're like, hey, because we have the gear, we have the skills, we have the experience, we're able to do a little bit more, but not starve either.
Yes. Good. Uh, Well, I have the next question, and I'm going to start with you. And this is on pricing considerations. And you're going to give a different perspective, being on the nonprofit. Maybe you have some thoughts on the for-profit as well. But I'm going to put that question on the screen. What's your process for reviewing and updating and setting your prices and packages, so that you're going into the new year with having at least a potential to be profitable if you're trying to do that.
Well, fortunately, I've done both sides, right? I've done the for-profit and
Okay.
nonprofit for photography. And when I was looking at it for myself, it's kind of like, how much do I want to make this year, right? What did I make this year, and what raise do I want to give myself? At the end of the day, right? I try to be understanding to a lot of folks that, oh, I'll do it for $100, but why? Like, why are you gas in a lot of cars, $100 is one tank of gas, but that doesn't cover all of our expenses. So essentially, whenever I'm reviewing for the end of the year, it's just kind of saying, all right, like, what did I do? And what do I want to make? And then doing the calculations and how much do I want to work? When I first came onto the scene, I did 150 sessions the first year. And I was like, I don't want to ever do that again because I just don't have that passion to do that many sessions. So what I had to do? I had to raise my prices. I want to make what I made, but I want to go ahead and not work as much. And, we're living the dream, right? Because we are our own bosses, that we can do that. So now, yeah, outside of the nonprofit, for the events, I take maybe 20 sessions a year, but I'm completely happy with what I make because I know how to do the cost of goods and what I want to make and do all those calculations, because that's such an important task as a business owner. Whether you're in the nonprofit space or the for profit space, you have to go ahead and know the numbers.
Yes, you do. And I like the way that you're looking at it. Um, Doing that many sessions, the 150, is overwhelming. Now, if you're a high volume photographer, then that could be considered a low number. It just depends on the kind of work that you do, and there's a place for all of us, and a place for all of our interests and our passions. Let's say you were a school portrait photographer and you only did 150. Well, there's school portrait photographers who do 500 a day. So that would be horrible for them. But for an independent doing those kind of sessions, you spend so much more time with each individual and all the different responsibilities, the things that you take on. That is a large number, and a photographer can do incredibly well by taking a third of that away, or even more. It depends on their pricing. But you're looking at it as, what do I want to make this year? Do I think I deserve a raise? Because I'm thinking you deserve a raise. And I'm not saying that just because I like you and who you are. I'm talking to everybody. You guys deserve a raise. You're not
Yes.
making enough. There are some things that you're not able to do that you really should be able to do. That vacation that Valerie has set up already. You saw her raise her fist like this. This is how I'm going to do it too. So she's doing that because she had a plan, because she knew that she was going to be able to make that happen. She's planning that. And Jacqueline is making sure that these things are in place so that they can happen. So she's planning, she's making them happen. She's not just driving down any street. She's going down the street that helps her get to the place where she wants to go. How do you feel about that?
Jim, if a photographer has questions, I wonder if they should book a session with you to learn.
Sorry, I get
Product
a little excited.
placement.
Thank you for that, Jacqueline. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask that same question now of Valerie, and I'll see you in just a moment. Let's see. Valerie, what do you think?
Jacqueline. I'm going to agree with Jacqueline that there is a place for each clientele with whatever photographer fits their budget. That's number one. But personally, when I saw the question of pricing consideration, number one is going to be my clientele, the economy. What I did different this year, and I am going to say that I am a profitable photographer. I believe you should be paid your worth 100%. You need to know your worth to be paid your worth. And I've had some comments because I get clientele from all over San Antonio. I've had some clients, one particular messaged me and she says, I'm so glad that you raised your prices because every time I'd hire you, I felt I was underpaying you. So her little thing was like, you go, girl. That was in 2023. And when 2024 happened, I started noticing that inflation was just ridiculous. I understood that our field is a luxury. My job is a luxury. I'm only here because certain people value my career and my product that I'm selling. So I think like until when COVID happened, it kind of blew up. People started getting that extra check, right? The checks that were coming in, but people were passing away, and the value of our job, our career, the photos, specifically for me, from what I capture, I felt that it was appreciated because, people were no longer with us, and the last thing that they had was a photo, so those memories. So me personally, I'm always going to take my clients into consideration as far as their financial things. And the way Jacqueline was saying, she was like, why take 100 if you don't have to, right? There's always a time where you can bless somebody. So when you can be a blessing, be a blessing. I have a lot of clients that come in, specifically one that I need a message back. And over the holiday season, they had booked in July ahead of time. So, 6 months ago, it was different. Hey, I want the top package. This is what I want. They signed their contract. They put their their reservation. Some of them are like, I can tell when they're asking like, hey, does it, like, what's the minimum amount? And then I tell them, hey, instead of splitting up in two, you're already tied down to it. Let's put you in a payment plan. So we'll do 3 payments and then we'll pay as you go. If you can afford $20 this week, pay your $20, send me a text message. Hey, I made a payment. That's how I do on my end, just because I'm very blessed. So if I'm robbing somebody of a blessing, I'm also robbing myself. That's just how I feel. So anyway, moving forward, the client ends up doing the payment plan. It comes down to her session. She says, you know, she's already paid up to about almost 50% now with the payment plan. And she still owes quite a bit of money for her package, but she messaged me and said, hey, something happened. We're getting divorced. I can't afford it. I have the, you know, I'm paying the bills by myself. And I literally just messaged her a couple days ago. And I said, hey, I don't want for you to miss out on the opportunity to capture a memory. So I'm going to have you come in, take your photos. Your payment plan is going to continue through January. You pay as you want. You tell me whenever you want to make a payment, but I'm not going to edit the photos until your final payment, just so that we're clear on that part. Absolutely. Came in, we did our thing. That was another client. I have another one that just messaged me too. But I was pretty excited about that, that I was able to be a blessing. So consider it, you know, be a blessing when you can. Pay yourself what you're worth, but you do have to take the inflation. If you're like super high price, you still kind of have to like run some deals. If you're or take the loss, it's just up to you. But I noticed that a lot of photographers were struggling, and I'm glad that I was blessed all year. Amen.
How many jobs do you try to take on in a year? Did you have a specific goal or range that you're heading towards?
I have never counted how many clients I've had in a year, but I know that I don't have time off. But honestly, the way that I do it is I remember I told you monthly. Monthly, I'll set up a goal for Christmas on my sheet of paper. I have another tablet that I make like a list of how many slots I want filled. And I say, this is how many I want. And then I exceed it. I don't know how, but it happens. So I have a minimum goal. No, I'm more, remember, quality over quantity. I don't believe in those little rushed 15-minute mini sessions. I want to bond with my client. I want to give them the product that they want and the stress-free photo shoot. So I'm not a numbers kind of person, although like this is my career. Like I live off this career, and the way that I think, even as a businesswoman, personally for me is it's just a little bit different. I'm not like this. I'm just like, I just look at it on the paper. We're doing good.
And you're proving that there are lots of right ways, or lots of good ways to make things happen, but there are right ways for each individual. And it's what's right for the next person may be you may consider it good, but not right. And so you wouldn't do it. And that's fine. But we each have to figure out what that is about us. It has nothing to do with what the next photographer does.
It's going to work
solely about what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've been there at the bottom. I've been there, the starving photographer, where I was like, oh, I need a little bit more. I need this. But then when you get to the goal where you're like financially paying yourself what you're worth, what is it? More pay, less work. And then you're like, you get wrapped up in your passion, and you're having fun with it now because you're being valued.
Yeah, that's important.
And your clients will come. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Thank you, Valerie. I appreciate that. I'm going to ask that same question now of Scott, and I'll see you back in a moment. So, Scott, what are your thoughts on pricing? Are you reevaluating that maybe this time of year, maybe some other time of year that you're taking a look at that? What are your thoughts on that? How are you making those kinds of choices, those kinds of decisions?
I just this past week, and I picked up the printing today, I updated my price list for real estate photography, and I went up because as any new business, when you first start out, you do things for free to learn, to gain some exposure. Then you do things for a little, but I've quickly gotten to the point where I'll look at what some other photographers posting their prices, and I'll say, I'm not going to do it for that. I'm past that stage. So I've raised my prices to where I think it's comfortable. I look at maybe what some of the other guys charge, but I don't say, oh, I got to be $5 less than him on this or that. I'm not going to do that. I've had people call me up and say, hey, would you drive to XYZ, 45 minutes in traffic, take 2 pictures with your drone? And I'll say, well, what exactly are you expecting to pay me for that? And they'll say, well, I only need 2 pictures. I say, my minimum's 10, and it's a couple $100 plus travel time. Oh, well, I only need 2 pictures. Well, what were you thinking of paying? So I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to short sell myself and do it for just experience. I've done it for fun. I enjoy doing it, but I've done enough practice now. And so, yeah, I reevaluated it, and I've looked at my prices, and I've gone up to where I think it's competitive but fair. And I'm not the cheapest, but I'm not the most expensive. And I tell people that when I do a presentation for realtors, I say, look, I'm not the cheapest photographer around, but I'm not the most expensive either. Or maybe I do it the other way around. I'll say, I'm not the most expensive, but I'm not the cheapest. And I'll tell them, look, I carry general liability insurance. I'm a former realtor. I pay SABOR dues, San Antonio Board of Realtors, so I can access your lock boxes. I'm background checked. A lot of your photographers are not. So there's more to my worth than just taking pictures. And I'll show them. If you don't want to, just use your phone and take the pictures and see how well that goes over with your seller when he thinks you're being overpaid and you didn't even hire a photographer. So yeah, I've raised my fees, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
It's interesting how pricing works, and there's so many different ways to look at it. It does help you reach whatever goals you have, but it is also a marketing tool,
Yeah.
which seems pretty odd. If you're early on, it doesn't seem like a marketing tool at all, unless it's on the low end. Then everyone can see how that could be
Yeah.
beneficial, but after a while, you realize that's not, it may be beneficial, but it doesn't initially, but it actually isn't helping you. It's harming you to continue to lower and lower
Yeah.
pricing.
So when
Now,
I
that's
first
far
started,
as your plans,
yeah.
you may have individual clients that you're trying to help out. And I'm not talking about that kind of thing. But as far as you trying to reach whatever goals you have so that you can have whatever life you want to have, then you're making your pricing and trying to get the number of jobs, have an average sale that causes you to reach those
Hmm.
goals.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so with a
Got to
plan, you can
charge
make it
what it's
happen.
worth. And in the sign business where I came from, the one trick the new guys all had up their sleeve was to cut the price, and they wouldn't last. But then
Right.
10 more would
Right.
replace them. Photography doesn't seem to be quite that diluted, but I'm glad that a lot of photographers charge what it's worth. Some customers think it's too expensive, but I don't. And if they do think it's too expensive, I say, gosh, I'm so sorry. That's what I charge. And I want to say something back to them like, hey, why don't you cut your commission? Why don't you do it for 1%? Or why don't you do it for a flat fee? And they get upset. I know I can't say that, but um, I've had realtors say, well, could you take the pictures and let me pay at closing 6 months from now? And I got to deal with the title company and have them pay me a couple $100? No. I say, no, I'm not going to do it. So no,
And maybe somebody will, but it's
I'm
not
not.
it's
Yeah.
not your client, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You're not, your goal isn't to accommodate every request. It's to
Right.
accommodate a little bit within the range that you're looking for, or the type of client that you want to work with, the type of client that brings you the most joy. Yeah, if you're working with someone
Yeah.
who's bringing you a lot of joy, you're going to make accommodations, but your goal isn't to just accommodate everyone.
No,
That
it's not.
harms you. It harms your business. It harms
Yeah.
your brand.
Yeah. And some of these guys I've seen where they move here from California and they say, oh my gosh, that's all you charge? I said, look, man, a house, that's $340,000 here would be 3.4 million out there. It's all about perspective. So you got to
It is.
just, you can't charge $3,000 to photograph a house. No one's going to hire you here. That might have been the rate out there, but here it doesn't work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Competitive. You got to know the market.
Yeah.
You got to know your competition, but don't go in there and just start seeing, okay, who's the lowest, and I'm going to be lower than him. Don't do that. It dilutes our industry, and it makes it harder for everybody.
We are coming close to the end of the discussion, and I have several questions more that I still want to ask. And so instead of having each one of you answer the same ones, then I'm going to ask 3 questions, one for each of you, and only you get to answer that question.
Okay.
So here's the one that I want to ask you.
All right.
What is, let's see, is that the one I want to ask you? What is your biggest challenge, and how are you choosing to face it or to handle it?
I guess my biggest challenge is prioritizing things and being more efficient. And I guess that's what I'm doing to answer your question. What am I doing about it? Right now, I'm upgrading my computer. I'm upgrading my storage to have a RAID system where it automatically backs up. I'm going through my gallery delivery software, and I'm putting in pre-made email templates and pre-made presets so that it streamlines things. So I guess that's what my biggest challenge right now is, being more efficient, and that's what I'm working on during my slow time.
Good. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
We all have challenges, and
Yeah.
they're differing degrees. We all have to face them, or well, I guess we don't get to stay in business.
Yep.
So, so thank you for sharing that. I
Sure.
appreciate it, Scott. All right, I'm going to ask now a different question to, let's see, I'm going to bring Jacqueline on to ask the next one. So, Jacqueline,
Hello.
here is your question. I'm going to ask archiving, backing up. So, uh, how do you organize your work? And do you do that year by year and have an archive at the end of each year where you've got 2024 that's going to be in this separate space, and then 2025 will go into a new folder? Or how are you backing up? What is your system? What is your process from the camera all the way to further out? But whatever process you have with backing up, can you share that with us?
Absolutely. So I have a terrible backup process. I'm not going to lie. That's not something that is on the focus of my mind ever, but
Should it be?
it probably could be, it should be probably at some point, but at the end of the day, right? Like I'd rather be busy doing the photos versus I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. But what I end up doing is I'll upload it to my laptop. And then eventually when I'm like, oh, I should clean out my laptop, I'll move it to an external drive, and then I'll forget that I put it on the external drive. So I'll put it on another external drive. So I end up having multiple copies of photos. And then I'm like, okay, let me go through, let me see what's duplicates. And let me go ahead and like delete what doesn't need to be 3 or 4 times saved. But that's what I do. And then depending, because as I say, I do my day job, for them it's entirely different process. Cloud, I have everything is cloud. I mean, we're a corporation, so we have unlimited space, so it's all cloud space. But for them, yes, it's here's year 1, here's this event, year 2, here's like I have already 2025 set up for a couple events I know that I'll be doing for them, and just making it easy. But for like outside of that corporate world, I'm like, yeah, I am all over the place. I need to get better at that. But right now the calendar's just so busy to I'm more worried about the videos. We're trying to figure out, like how, getting the most space at the prime opportunity, because space is costly. When we lost Dropbox being unlimited, it was just like, oh, that's not fun. But yes, that I personally should be doing better, but that's my process.
Well, so that those who are watching can have a thought or idea, I want to share what I do, and I want to get your opinion of it. That way, there's at least something that they can grab onto.
Absolutely.
So, and everyone needs to have their own, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, everyone needs to have their own organizational system, whatever it is that works for them. Because before I had an organizational system, well, I guess I've always had some level of organization, but it didn't start off being very good because I had difficulty finding things again. And so I had to refine that. And at first, it was just using Windows. Um, uh, uh, just the Windows files, the file explorer, and so I would set it up by the type of work that I'm doing, like a family portrait, and within that would be all the family portraits, and then the headshots and all that, and within that folder would be all the headshots. But it got to where that folder was unruly. It was just too much. I've done over 200,000 portraits over the years. It's impossible to find anything unless it was organized. And so the route that I recommend to most people, and it's different based on each individual situation, is to put everything into a product like Lightroom or something equivalent that has an organizational system that's built in. It's part of it. It doesn't require anything extra. You have to learn how to use it, but that's easy. But then you have that subdivided however you want to and backed up. Now, I have that backed up to my local storage NAS that is 4 identical drives. And so it's immediately, I don't save anything on my desktop hard drive or my laptop hard drive. There's nothing there because it's too easy to lose that. Now, if you have that directly connected to a cloud, then you at least have that backed up. But I just don't save any of the things that I create, whether it's the writings that I do for classes, for books, for none of that stuff that do I save to my hard drive. I save it to my NAS, which is a hard drive also, but it's 4 times redundant. And so if one goes bad, and they do go bad, you just change it out, and now you still have 4 copies of it. And then that is backed up to a cloud. That way, if there is some kind of a natural disaster, fire, flood, there's things that could happen to a local environment, that if it's backed up to the cloud, it has no effect on those images. And so now, while I do have an archive, and sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to get to it, I have a way to find images going back for 30 years. And so it's well, that would be incorrect because it was film at first, and so it wouldn't have been digital until 2002 when I switched to digital. So for 22 years, I've had this organizational system, so I could go back and find images that I've created all along because of the organizational system. How do you feel about that? Do you think that is a good thing for a photographer to do, or do you feel like maybe there's a better way?
You know, adding the Lightroom element is probably a great way when you're starting out, right? So for me, I've 4 years professionally, for almost 5 years now. I still have space on my first one. I've done maybe 2 or 3 thousand sessions in the last couple of years or whatnot, right? But definitely once you have built up, getting into that NAS, that's exactly what we're doing with the video stuff. We're building that NAS system so we can have that archive. But I just like to add that in there. You might want to add a contract too of how long do you actually plan on keeping these photos? Because we're
Good,
always
good
growing, we're always
consideration.
changing, and our
Right.
skills get better in time. So, do I want to keep something I did in 2020? Maybe. It depends, right? Just like a job resume for your day to day. How long are those skills relevant? How long are those photos relevant to what you can provide today?
That's interesting, and each one of us does need to have those kinds of considerations. We need to think through that process. It needs to be part of our plan and our procedures so that we are consistent with it. So we're not making changes all the time. So we're not reinventing the wheel each time. We make these decisions. Maybe we tweak it here and there, but we make the decision and it becomes part of our everyday process. That way we know how to find things. We know where to find it. It's never crossed my mind that the one about not liking my skills. I got a degree in 91. And so I've liked my work since I started. And so I haven't considered that point of view where it has evolved and gotten better. So it while it has, I still am proud of the stuff that I did 30 years ago. And so,
Sure.
but I do understand when you brought it up, you opened my mind to something I really hadn't considered before. That is a concern for many. Do I want that work to be out anymore? So maybe I don't want to show it. And that is a valid concern for those who have that concern. It's a valid concern. So thank you for opening my mind to something I hadn't thought of before.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, now I'm going to ask one final question, Valerie, and then I'll bring you guys each on to share any closing thoughts that you might have. So I'll bring you back in just a moment. So Valerie, got you back on. I have one quick question for you. I'm sorry I don't have much time left, but the question I want to ask you is, what is your approach to client appreciation? In fact, let me bring that image.
I am an expert at this.
Are you? Good.
Yes, that's a good question. Okay, so as a consumer myself, I always put myself in their spot. When you're shopping at a store, what are things that you like? What are rewards that you like? All that stuff. So me personally, for years, I have I've done client appreciation. I have what's called a loyal clients group. So I do reward once in a while. I'll do like the top fans, the people that are on the social media platform for Facebook, which Facebook keeps me booked. I do not use any other platform because I'm 100% overbooked with Facebook clients alone. Gmail kind of, they trickle in through the website, and then all of them say that they found me on Facebook and they just went through the email. So what I do is I keep track of everybody. I build relationships with my clients. My clients, like when they come over, they're family to me. Like we talk, like if I've never met them and I talk to them, like if I've known them and we just went to dinner last night and hung out till midnight. But what I do is I let them know, like when they come in for a session, I tell them, hey, this is the next session that's coming up. So since the 2 sessions are in the same quarter, you get a discount if you want to come back for the next one. I can throw it. I don't tell them exactly what I do, but me personally, I look at it. I'm like, their kid did really well on set. I know I can throw in some bonus photos on there because I do digital work. Or I also run 2 different sets through Christmas, Mother's Day, and for the spring and Easter sessions. So there's 2 rooms already all decorated with all the props, and I go all out. So I let them know, hey, when you come in, say for Christmas, they just came in, or Valentine's is another one where I have 2 sets going. I let them know when you come in for Valentine's, you can do the middle tier package and you'll automatically get bumped up with the second set. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, let me know. Just inbox me later. I have a birthday loyalty reward program where I see these babies when they're in mommy's tummy at their maternity session and their newborn session. They come in for their 6 months. So it's called a Grow With Me package. One is where they get a big discount when they pay all in full, or they get a smaller discount if they're doing like a payment package. I still reward them somehow. My clients that are on their 5th or 6th birthday, they'll still do the basic package and I reward them with all the perks of the elite package. So when I say that I build relationships with them, like we stay in touch. I mean, some of them are they're like really good friends. They come to my birthday parties for my kids, or we have a gathering or loteria night. I make sure that I keep that as the loyalty part is like, you're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. We make a relationship, friendship, a bond, so that I feel like they get so comfortable and I'm comfortable with them. Like when we're the right fit, I'm able to bless them with stuff. So I like to do that. But I'm open to hear anybody else's input on that part, on the loyalty programs. But my main one would be for sure the loyal client discount, and then just throwing stuff in there. You know, I've seen where a mom has come in, and it's always moms. I feel really bad when they come in and they feel like the kid's just struggling. And I can tell they were yelling on the way to the shoot and they're stressed out. And when they come here, I'll take mom to the side and say like, hey mom, your job is done. You got here. Like I got the rest. So once I get the kiddo situated and, you know, distract them with games too, as a reward, I send, you know, I know that the mom was stressed and she's probably like, oh my God, I paid, you know, all this money and I'm not going to like my photos. When she gets her gallery, most likely there's going to be free photos in there. Just some little thank you and a lovely note from me saying, I told you so. No, just a lovely note. Just say, you know, I appreciate you trusting me to work my magic with this. So
that personal touch does make a difference. It's one of those things that causes you to have clients for life.
yeah.
And so I definitely
And I do.
appreciate that. And writing a note, how often do people do that anymore? I mean, you see it. It's not that it's so rare that it's just unknown, but it used to be the norm. Everybody used to do it. Now it's something that causes you to stand out. It's something that causes them to have a closer feeling with you because of that extra effort that you made.
Mhm.
So cool.
Yeah,
Very good.
love
Thank you
that.
for sharing those with us.
Of course.
I appreciate that. All right. We are out of time, but I want each one of you to share some closing thoughts. So how about Valerie, if you do you want me to start with you or do you want me to come to end with you? Just a quick, 30-second closing thoughts about what you want to share,
We
what
can
you want
start. We can
someone to
start.
know. Okay.
I want to say, because I'm looking at my notes, I'm a note taker, guys. I am a note taker. Okay. But anyway, back to the subject here. Just in closing, like I like both of y'all's perspectives on y'all's field. I want to encourage you and any other photographer watching just not to ever lose their joy. And it's normal if you do. And it's normal if you feel like stumped or you hit a brick wall. Totally normal. The thing is that you need to stop what you're doing, take some time off, and then remind yourself of why you're doing this. It could be the clientele, it could be the subject that you love to capture, whether it's nature, people, or like real estate. I love houses, and that's something that's on I would love to do that one day. But my biggest thing is that in our field, we do get underappreciated and we sometimes don't know our value and we are underpaid and we're overworked and we're stressed, especially during the holidays. Me personally, with the field that I'm in and the clientele that I have, I'm very blessed to have such sweet clients. But every once in a while, you'll get somebody that, man, you get burned out with, or they frustrate you during like a time where we're barely getting sleep and we're overworking ourselves. So don't lose that joy. And, if it does happen, just take the time off and just refocus. Don't get burned out. When you overwork yourself or whatever money's coming in, you just get burned out in it. I just don't encourage that. Surround yourself with motivated people that are like, they love what you do and they support you with what you do. Even the friends, get into groups where I am in a lot of photography groups to be nosy, to be helpful, to be nosy because I learned through their mistakes. I'm like, that's something I never thought of, a situation that I would be in. So that has helped me grow with social media, is these groups. But take the time off and take the vacation. And lastly, I'll close with, see the reward, like the seeding of what your work is. Like I am just tapping into that of traveling. And now I'm like, oh, this is why I'm stressed out all year. Yay. And I get to do because I'm about to go on a nice vacation.
I love this. I like that excitement. Well,
So
Valerie, thank
don't
you
burn
so
yourself out.
much. Yeah, and that's great advice. That is something that I hear often from not just my clients, not just the students that I work with, the photographers that I work with, but when I'm doing the things that you're doing, going to different Facebook groups and photographer forums where they're sharing their thoughts, they're sharing their the things that are well, they're challenges, and a lot of it is that they feel like there's a lot that will comment on being burned out, and I think being burned out is a real thing, but I also think it's a solvable thing, and I see that you see it as that as well, and so it's not the business that's causing you to burn out. It's your reaction to what's going
Yes.
on that's causing that. And so if you choose the positive route that you have suggested, then you get to get out of that frustration. But if you don't, then you blame it on something else. So you've got to take ownership of that and say, I can do something about this to bring this joy back.
Yes. And
So thank you
sometimes
for sharing
photography is not a right fit, or it's not the right time. So it's really just pausing, reflecting, and figuring out, like, do I really want to do this? Because it is so consuming of your time, and we
It
miss
is.
out so much because we're capturing everybody else's important moments. So take the damn time off.
There we go. Thank you so much, Valerie. I
Thank you for having
appreciate
me.
you, your insights, your enthusiasm for sharing with other photographers and uplifting other photographers. So thank you for your efforts today and always, because it's not just today that you're doing this kind of thing for other photographers. So you rock. I appreciate you.
New role.
There you go. I love it. All right, I'm going to bring on. Let's bring on Scott next. And that means I'll be ending with Jacqueline. So I'll bring you back, all three of you back after that. So let's see, Scott, tell me what in a condensed version, what closing thoughts do you want viewers to have about today's discussion?
2 things. Never quit, number 1. Number 2, under promise and over deliver. And that's it.
Wow. I asked for short. Wow.
Give the customer what they want, not what you want to sell.
And that is great advice. And I can't imagine that anyone would disagree with it. But how many of us are doing what you just said? Is it the norm? Is it something that we just think about? Are we
I don't
actually
know,
doing
Jim,
it?
you know,
'Cause
you
it's
and I are
good
cut
advice.
from the same cloth, that generation, and maybe it's just the way we are. But you know,
Hopefully.
keep your word, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how we gain some kind of an emotional connection with each one of our clients?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to exaggerate, but to some degree, I think we actually fall in love with our clients.
Well,
I mean,
you
it's
take
not
pictures of
eros
pretty
love.
ladies.
It's it's that brotherly love.
Yeah.
We really care about them. We care about their success. We care about, what happens to them in the future. We want the efforts that we contribute to what they're trying to do to be valuable,
Yeah.
to add to what they're doing, to cause them to reach whatever goals they have. And so therefore I see it as what we're doing is not only something that we have a passion for, but I see it as an act of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm weird.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Call me
course.
anytime. Yeah, if I'm free, I'll be glad to do it again.
Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Sure.
You're the kind of person who just keeps on keeping on. You work hard, and I don't know that I have seen you without a smile. And it's quite possible that doesn't even exist.
No.
But at least in my version of
Yeah.
Scott Southwell, he is a guy who is happy, and if
Yeah.
he's not, he does what it takes to make himself happy
Sure.
about the
Yep.
situation, to
Yeah.
make it better than it was when he walked in on the situation.
New camera gear makes everybody happy.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's true. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. I'm going to bring you on back in just a moment when I bring everybody on, but I want to bring on Jacqueline to give her closing thoughts. So, Jacqueline, so are we do we save the best for last for the closing thoughts?
Naturally, just kidding. No, everybody has great thoughts, but I'm gonna just put it from the perspective of we're at Christmas now, right? And we're gonna have tons of folks to get their first camera. They're gonna just want to go out and take photos, they want to start charging. Take a minute, breathe, and just learn. Like, start taking pictures of everything. Go find a leaf that makes you happy. Figure out what best settings you want to do. Going into this is an exciting thing because it's creative. It's something that you can break down and just like, all right, did what I wanted to do today, but you can burn yourself out. Like everyone's saying a little bit about burnout. Like this is quickly something that is fun, but it can just burn you out if you don't do it right. And everybody has a customer. Don't get discouraged when you go on the Facebook group and post your first photo and you get 2 likes. That's okay. One thing is you got to learn social media algorithms, right? There's a lot of business stuff that's not photography and not the numbers that you're going to learn when you start your own time. And starting in January or December 26th, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs, but don't get discouraged because you can control your business. There is enough work for all of us. We just have to be able to charge our worth.
Thank you for putting that into perspective. That makes total sense, and I appreciate you for sharing it. I appreciate you for the things that you are doing, the enthusiasm and positivity that you bring to the table. We've gotten lucky again this time with some wonderful panelists, and so I appreciate you taking your time for this and sharing your thoughts, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm going to bring on all 3 of you, because as a group, I want to tell you, you guys freaking rock. I really appreciate it. I mean, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, wow, what an incredible discussion. Each one of these wonderful panelists has brought such valuable insights to the table. And I hope that you as viewers have benefited from hearing these different approaches of closing out the year, and how a lot of these things that are in the category of closing out the year don't happen at the end of the year. They happen at different times, or they happen over the period of long periods of time, maybe even throughout the entire year. You guys know, and by the way, panelists, you might not know this, I call the viewers Lens Legends. So you Lens Legends, Lens Legends, one of the things I love most about our photography community is how willing people are to share what works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And today's panel really exemplified that spirit. We've covered everything from practical systems to client appreciation strategies. And I hope you've all picked up on some ideas that you can implement in your business. I want you guys right now, as viewers, take a moment to say thank you to these wonderful panelists. Please show your appreciation for their gift of time and attention by clicking the like button, by clicking the love button. It's wonderful people like Jacqueline, Valerie, and Scott who uplift the wonderful photographer community. And we want to encourage them to continue to do so. And we do that with our compliments, with our comments, with our hitting the like button, hitting the love button. And panelists, man, thank you for your honesty, for your willingness to share your thoughts and your experiences, your challenges. Your insights are doing a lot of good to help out photographers. You rock. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, guys. All right, as I take them off and you guys viewing are saying your thank yous to them, I'd like to share with you some things that are coming up. We've got 3 shows left for the year, and I am teaching a marketing class here on Wednesday that you might have an interest in. So I'll tell you that here in just a second. But remember, you don't have to implement everything that you've heard here today at once. All the notes that you may have taken, pick 2 strategies that resonated with you and just start there. Sometimes small changes make a big impact. So don't allow this to overwhelm you. That's a choice. Just do one thing. Just do 2 things. And then maybe come back to some of the others. Here's some upcoming things. I'll be teaching a marketing and visibility class at the Camera Exchange. For those of you who are watching here in San Antonio or in the San Antonio area, the Camera Exchange is on San Pedro. Wednesday at 3 p.m., I'm going to be teaching a marketing and visibility class. And you can go to camerax.com. That's camerax.com and click on classes and events so that you can get more details. Now, As you know, we do the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. We don't miss. The times we actually have missed a couple, but there's been really good reasons for it. But I want to make sure that you're aware of this because this is free. And it surprises me how many times I see on photographer forums that there's no one who's willing to help. I invest huge numbers of hours in free stuff. If you're saying there's no one willing to help, it's a you problem because there are lots of people. You saw the 3 panelists today. They are willing to help. They just did it. They just proved it. I'm here proving it. If you have this thought in your mind that no one's willing to help, it's a you problem because almost every single photographer is a wonderful, loving, open person who would be more than happy to help. You just have to ask. That's it. Now, at the time you ask, they might be busy. You might have to ask more than once, but they are willing to help. Now, as you know, you get the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. And so I want to tell you what is coming up over the next few weeks. All right. So on 1 week from today, December 16th, and this is at noon. Let me put the show graphic up and put it up like that. This is the top 5 strategies for explosive growth for 2025. So some of these are things you've heard before, but some of these are newer. This is in my opinion, 2025 is the year of transformation. With all this new technology, everything evolving very quickly, we've got these just trends, these new things that are happening, and an audience that's more eager than ever for authentic connection. There's never been a better time to scale your photography business. Now, this is just one guy's opinion. Not everybody's going to agree with that, but I am upbeat and excited about what's coming. We're going to uncover the top 5, in my opinion, cutting-edge strategies that make 2025 the perfect moment for you to take your business further than you've ever imagined. 1 week from today at noon, December 16th. And then on December 23rd at noon, we're going to be talking about your 2025 plan. Now, this is a last minute review of your 2025 plan, but that's what we'll be doing on the 23rd, so 2 days before Christmas. We still are doing this session. Yep, we still do it. Let me put that up on the screen. Last minute review of your 2025 plan. And then on the last Monday of this year, that's December 30th, and this would be at noon, it's the photographer's task list for January 1st. So let me put that one up on that show graphic up on the screen as well. As the clock strikes midnight and a new year begins, it brings with it the perfect opportunity for reflection, for renewal, for a fresh start. It's just the right time to reset, reorganize, and set the tone for a productive and successful year ahead. Put those on your calendar. It's every Monday at noon. The only time we change that is when we do a panel, and we do that at 6:30 because, well, it's just easier for the panelists to be here at 6:30 than it is at noon. That's the reason. Otherwise, it is at noon. As we bring today's discussion to a close, I want to once again express my sincere gratitude to our panelists for sharing their invaluable wisdom and their experiences. Their journeys remind us that change is an evolution and growth. Lens Legends, I want their stories to be a reminder that while we are reimagining our businesses, while we're changing, when we're adding, when we're making things better, that we're also creating legacies for both our clients and for ourselves. Photographers aren't just members of some profession that are, adapting to some changes. We're constantly evolving storytellers that leave a mark on the world through our moments, through the moments that we capture and the memories that we, immortalize. We are guardians of moments. We're crafters of heirlooms. We're the architects of history. You are important. As we move forward, armed with the insights and inspirations from our wonderful panelists, let's challenge ourselves to embrace change, to push the boundaries of creativity and professionalism. Let's commit not only to enhancing our skills, but also to nurturing the bonds that make our photography community a source of strength, innovation, and collective achievement. Thank you once again to our panelists for their generous contributions of thought, advice, and their time. And thank you, Lens Legends, for your time and your attention here today. I encourage you to join me for the next live stream 1 week from today at noon for Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab. My name is Jim Landers, and I'm bringing you the weekly Portrait Profit Show. So until next time, Lens Legends, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep making your mark in the world. I look forward to watching you grow. I think you guys rock. I appreciate you. You're wonderful. Bye for now. See you in a week.